In this lesson, I'm going to be talking about web testing tools. So there's a lot of different types of web testing tools that you may make use of. The first one that you're going to need, obviously, is a browser. And I'll get into the browser a little bit more in just a couple of minutes here. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is a web application scanner. And in this case, I'm using Burp Suite Professional. And that's a pretty good web application scanner that comes at a pretty reasonable price. It's got a lot of functionality in it. It's got an intercepting proxy, which is useful if you want to test the application and be able to manipulate data outside of the context of what's going on in the browser. So an intercepting proxy is really useful. You also want something that's going to be able to quickly and easily get all of the pages in the website, and that's your spider. Now, you also need a scanner, and of course that's here in Burp Suite as well. Burp Suite also has some other capabilities, like there's an intruder, a repeater, a sequencer, a decoder, and all of those are useful for different purposes, and in subsequent lessons we'll get into some of the different purposes that these types of functions have. Another tool that's similar to Burp Suite is the Z Attack Proxy by OWASP or OWASP. Now, the Z Attack Proxy is actually based on an older proxy called Peros, and it's got some other functionality built into it. And you can see that there's a lot of capabilities that are more or less the same. It's an intercepting proxy as well. You can see the request response, and there's a tab for doing spiders. You can do a scan with it, and one of the things that this has is a fuzzer. Now, I can also do some fuzzing attacks with Burp Suite. That's done with a piece of the application that's named differently. Zap actually has a component that's called fuzzer, and fuzzing you can do a lot of different things with, from doing SQL injection potentially to just manipulating pieces of data in particular ways in hopes of trying to break the application. So that's got the fuzzer component here inside of Zap. There are several commercial products that are available, from Sensix Hailstorm to HP has Web Inspect, and there's other ones that are available as commercial web application scanners. There are also other open source tools that are available, like Nikto, for example, where you have some command line ability to do web application scanning, and it's less proxy based than it is just going out and running a number of attacks to see what it can get. Let's get back to the browser, though. With the browser, I have the ability to do add-ons. And what I can get with add-ons is some functionality that's directly in the browser that will allow me to do particular things. Like, I can get a tool called Tamper Data that will allow me to manipulate requests and responses from more or less right inside the browser without actually having to fire up a separate proxy to get the intercepting component. I can run things like cross-site scripting attacks or SQL injection attacks in an automated way with some different add-ons. There are add-ons that provide toolbars to do decoding and encoding and those sorts of things. So there's a lot of different abilities that you can add into the Firefox browser because of the large number of people who are working on these add-ons so that they can have them available in their browser. The browser has become far more than just, hey, let me display a web page for you. With add-ons, both in Firefox and in Chrome, and to a lesser degree in Internet Explorer, you have the ability to have a program or an application where you can bolt a lot of different functionality onto it outside of just the core function that it was originally designed for. So add-ons provide a lot of power to the browser and certainly give some additional and sometimes very unique testing tools that you can run from right inside of the browser. So from a web application testing perspective, again, you probably want some sort of scanner like an intercepting proxy that has some scanning abilities. Obviously, you have to have a browser. You may want some different add-ons to go into your browser, and you may need some additional tools as well, but that's certainly the core of what you're going to need to get started to do web application testing.